Southern California, yeah.
Born and raised that DNA. Laugh and cry to what we say. We hit you with that wordplay.
4053.
What episode are we on? D, they feeling like they be zombies, all dressed in Abercrombie.
SoCal DNA coming in live. 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night. COVID got you sitting inside. Why not sip one and free your mind?
Cheap thrills, popping pills, stack cash, spend it fast.
Listen to all of those lies as Arjun act like he's surprised. Sit back and sip one. That's what I'm gonna be doing. This is episode 10, brought to you on time on a Monday evening, 8:30 p.m. 8:30-ish. What time is it right now? 8:40. Nothing seems better than that. Let me crack one open really quick, eh? There we go. Let's get in the mood. How you doing,
I love how
man?
That's a real sound effect. I really like that. It's not a canned effect. It's real.
Oh.
Don is drinking while we're doing the podcast, as is usually the custom. So, this is kind of a long overdue podcast. I apologize about that. I was having some technical difficulties last week, and Don was nice enough.
You're taking the blame. Nope, it was all me. Spectrum Internet, not welcome to be one of our sponsors. Not welcome. No, thank you.
That's the first time he said that.
No,
Don
thank
always
you.
loves everybody.
Oh, no.
He always welcomes all sponsors.
No, I went through so much frustration that day. You have no idea, because I was so amped. You know how busy I was.
I know.
I like to carve out time where this is a very nourishing evening across my days, and I look forward to it. I mean, with our 12 fans now, or 11.
Actually, 5.
5?
Yeah. 5. Well, subscribers. 5 subscribers.
5 subscribers. Those are the super fans.
That's right.
I apologize. It was on me. We are working on getting a home for me and my wife. We're one step closer. We'll see. We're probably going to throw in an offer sometime later this week or as soon as tomorrow. But maybe slightly a long shot of a deal. But we'll get back on that when I have more concrete evidence of it happening.
Definitely. And, I think the fans know that we try to be as consistent as possible. And sometimes things come up. Life happens. Brownouts happen. Work happens, whatever it may be. But know, for the fans especially, this message goes directly from DNA to the fans. We care about you. We care about your entertainment. And if the week goes by when you don't hear us, feel that we have the same pain. We're sad too. We don't get to talk. We don't get to have an hour and a half long session where we talk about everything and everything under the sun. So know that we always look forward to these things. We enjoy, talking about whatever it is, whether it's hip hop, politics, music, whatever it is. And we like to share that with you. So don't get us wrong. If we do miss a week, yes, you can blame us, but we're coming right back at you just like we are today, 8:44 p.m. This is episode 10, as Don said. And, one of the subscriber requests, actually, I don't even know if this guy's a subscriber, but actually he is a subscriber. He recommended, a buddy of mine, Zan, he recommended check out Run the Jewels RTJ4. It is, of course, the latest album that dropped for free, which is amazing. These guys, Killer Mike and LP, they make great hip-hop music. They're one of those underrated duos out there. And from time to time, they release gems, absolute gems. And, this came out maybe about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. It was on my queue. It was on my agenda of things to check out. But with Zan recommending it, and also a couple other people in my friend circle recommending it, I thought, might as well turn this into an official review for the podcast. So I'm going to give you guys my 2 cents first, my overview. Don will do the same. Then we'll kind of get into track by track, giving you guys a little bit of a preview, too, of what the album sounds like as we do the review. So let me just say right off the bat, this is the type of album that just astounds you with the production value and hard-hitting bars. Kind of like Jay Electronica's last effort, a written testimony. It's a pleasure to experience all the way through, and of course requires multiple listens to really understand all the lyrics and appreciate the full vision of the album. For those that are not quite acquainted with the duo, Run the Jewels often exchange raw, chaotic raps about issues that plague our society, and that's especially apparent in this album, and fitting, considering it was released just last week while the world reacted to George Floyd's murder. Killer Mike and LP certainly did not disappoint with their unique style and lived up to my expectations. Now, we may not spit about the same things, but this is the type of chemistry, dope production, and energy the SoCal DNA tries to bring to the mic in both podcast and musical form. So that's my take, Don. What did you think overall?
Man, was that written? That sounded written, bro. You were cheating on that, weren't you?
You know, I may have taken some notes.
There we go. Dude, I thought we were doing this live. But
well,
anyways.
semi-live. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not as eloquent as A is. And I'm sure everybody's known that by now. Probably after episode 1. They probably know that. For me, it took me a couple playbacks of the whole album to really understand and get the full nature of the beast that is RTJ, Run the Jewels. I've heard of them in the past, and if we speak specifically on RTJ 4, it in the beginning seemed like their standard bread and butter style. The more and more you listen to it, the more and more you realize it may be their bread and butter style, but it's damn good at what it is. It is damn nourishing.
It's like some garlic bread, right? Garlic bread and like Olive Garden. Unlimited, but it's fantastic.
Yeah. Or like the lobster biscuits over at, or the cheddar lobster biscuits over at Red Lobster.
Gosh. Yes,
yeah, it's like that. And yes. I think we're in agreement. It was a fantastic feel, at the very least, of an album. Great on RTJ to release it free for streaming when they did, because a lot of their bars are very, very, very insightful, especially during these hard times that we're in right now. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, it's hard-hitting beats that A and I were just talking about. We loved on the production side. Like, yes. I want to steal. I'm willing to pay for that drum kit that they have on so many other tracks. It just hits hard in the nicest, heaviest way possible, if that makes sense.
You know, and I gotta say something here. I know a lot of the production for RTJ is done by LP.
Yeah.
He's the white guy in the duo.
Yeah.
And his production is very underrated. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, going back to even previous albums, you know, RTJ 1, 2, 3, a lot of his hits are just like blow your mind amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, how does he come up with these, you know, combination of sounds, this hard hitting drum pattern? And that's really the key. Like, a lot of hip hop out there, you know, the tempo can be kind of slow, but it works, right? It's fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's still cool.
Yeah.
But these guys, man, they're just trying to take your face off.
It's unrelenting. It is in your face. It is raw it's filtered and produced in such a way that it still feels raw, but you know it is a masterpiece at the same time.
Yes, it is highly curated. Don described it perfectly here. It sounds aggressive. It sounds like an animal waiting to be unleashed, and is unleashed. But when you actually break it down layer by layer, you see, wow, there's so many different things. They're doing so many instruments, samples, distortion, all these different effects that are happening to really complete the sound. And that's what I really respect about these guys. And of course, they had help on this album, which we'll get into some of the features later on, but it's really them. At the end of the day, it's Killer Mike dropping the amazing bars, LP also dropping bars, but providing that great production to buoy everything together. So I say let's get right into it, Don. Go ahead and cue up track 1. Let's get that going in the background. Right. Ideally in a low volume so we can talk over it. So the track 1, ladies and gentlemen, was called Yankee and the Brave, Episode 4. And my immediate reaction to this was, banger. Great start to the album. 808s go hard. It's just straight bars from Killer Mike and LP. And as Don always says, I didn't catch all of it on the first listen, but I could sense it was raw, it was aggressive and passionate. Just the kind of music I really like. So when you first heard the first track, Don, what was your immediate reaction? What was your visceral take?
Dude, well, honestly, once you first started up and you have that little intro where they're just talking and then they just hit you with the drums, and it's almost like like they're just aiming straight for the heart and the mind. It was fantastic to start the album with it. And again, it was one of those, I had to listen to it a couple of times because when I had first listened to it, I was just vibing with the drums, if I'm going to be completely honest. But then the more and more you dive into it, as I did looking at Genius, right, as you could probably see if you're watching the video, every bar is written with reason. And track 1, unrelenting, no fucks given. This could have been their hit to start it off.
Yes, absolutely. And in the interest of full disclosure, even though I've heard their biggest hits in the past, I actually haven't heard their full albums. So that's something I want to go back and do. That's why, like, looking at the track 1 title, Yankee and the Brave, episode 4 in parentheses, I was very curious as to what that meant. I don't know if they go into it really in the track itself, but I imagine there's probably episodes 1, 2, and 3 in previous albums that might complete the picture in a way. So let me ask you this, though, before we move on to track 2. What do you think Yankee and the Brave mean?
Well, if we look at Genius.com,
Yes.
as stated in this Instagram post, Yankee and the Brave is a fictional TV show. The voice that says this is an imitation of voiceover television adverts like this one. I'm not going to click on the link.
Got you.
In the fictional show, Yankee is LP's character, while the Brave is Killer Mike's. Both names are references to their hometown baseball teams, the Yankees and the Atlanta Braves. See,
I like
again,
that.
it's one every bar, even in like the intro statement, has reason.
Yeah. It is fantastic. I was thinking like something a little bit really off here. I was thinking, you know how, maybe I'm wrong about this, but the Braves can refer to, and I could be wrong. This is going to be a moment where I'm politically incorrect. do the Braves?
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Okay, you know what? I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, he was going to call out the Native Americans.
You know, okay. So I'm not totally crazy here. There is some truth to what I'm saying. There's some order to this chaos.
Well, anyway, and I think that's something we could even speak on. I mean, their opening line for this album during a time as politically heated as it is, this week on the Yankee and the Brave, of course, it's like it resonates. Because when you think of Yankee, what do you think? You think of a fucking... Yeah, I want to ask you, what do you think of a Yankee when someone says Yankee?
I think a Yankee might be a slang term for an American, no?
Sure. That's a one way of putting it. And then, and the Brave, right? Which is American Indians, or the actual Brave itself when you take it in an adverb sense, like the Brave, or adjective sense, right? Which one's right? Which one's wrong? Why are we juxtaposing them in one sentence, in one statement?
Yeah, it definitely works on multiple layers, and it's kind of like you look at the group by itself, and I know we got to get through the rest of this, but we'll spend a little bit more time on this. You look at the group, right? LP and Killer Mike are both in their 40s, and one's black, one's white. They don't really view the world in a colorblind way. They very much view it in color, but they also have a very deep friendship, which makes their band work. And it's a very much an aberration in most people's eyes. Like, wait, how are they successful at age 40 doing hip hop and this aggressive style of hip hop? And they're from like two completely different locations. And it shows that like the Yankee and the Brave, which represents who they are, multiple layers with the New York Yankees, Atlanta Braves, and even the false connection I made with Americans and Native Americans. I think the contrast, the juxtaposition, as Don pointed out, applies in so many ways, and it's been a working juxtaposition that they've really capitalized on for like 4 albums now. So this is great. I think it's a great start. It hits you hard. It gets you into the right mindset. Like once you hear this, you know you can't go back to Taylor Swift. You can't go back to
Whoa. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Okay. You can always go back to Taylor Swift.
Maybe you go back to Bad Blood featuring Kendrick Lamar. Maybe that's the transition you get to. But after Yankee and the Brave, which was a great intro, we jump into, and Don, you can play the next track now, Ooh La La featuring Greg Nice and DJ Premier. And I always look forward to tracks where DJ Premier is producing or even like doing the cuts, doing the mixing, because he's one of those great DJs that's been around for like over 20 years, 25, 30 years maybe, worked with like the best of the best from like Nas to Jay-Z to everybody. And I always look forward to his tracks. And this particular track, you found DJ Premier taking a simple chord progression in the beginning and turning it into a dope beat, which is kind of his patented style, if you ask me. I thought LP's flow in his first verse was absolutely insane. Like, I gotta say, man, You know, we always talk about top fives, top tens. We always talk about our favorite rappers, and we never ever mention these guys. We never talk about Run the Jewels in the same breath as like a Jay-Z, a Nas, an Eminem. To some people, Lil Wayne. To other people, a limited minority, Tekashi 69. We never really talk about Run the Jewels in this context. But when you listen to the bars, when you listen to the production, how do you not put RTJ in a top 10, especially contemporary top 10? Like their music is so on point, right?
No, I completely agree. And if I want to answer it in the most simplistic fashion, it has to deal with marketing.
Ah,
It has to deal with the avenue they're taking. I think those aforementioned in our top fives have a company fueling all efforts on all fronts to grow that person's brand. I don't think RTJ gives a shit. They just want to put out what feels right to them, and by golly, it's the way that respect should be gained, and how organic traction will happen.
yeah, you bring up a great point here. I think it's an underrated quality in a lot of really good artists that, you know, they're not really looking for mainstream success as defined by the masses. They're looking for staying true to their craft, releasing music that they know they enjoy, and also they know other people enjoy too, and that's kind of enough for them at the core. Now, my other theory behind why they release their albums for free is because number one, Don, probably you already know this, but the cut you get from like a CD sale or album sale or even a stream is very trivial. You're not really getting a whole lot of money from your actual physical album sales or even streams for that matter.
Not anymore.
Now, not anymore. Before, before the internet, really, that's when the prime was for physical album sales. But now it's all about going on tour. RTJ, I know they were at Coachella. I know they've headlined countless venues all over the map, in other countries as well. And I think they realize that if they can release their music for free, especially capturing the zeitgeist, right, capitalizing on the zeitgeist of our time with what happened recently to George Floyd and the reaction from America, this is right up their alley. I mean, I can't really think of a better hip hop duo, hip hop conglomerate for that matter, to come out with new music than them, because this is what they talk about for all their albums. They talk about politics, they talk about social issues, they talk about how messed up the world is and how different aspects of the world really don't jive with what they view the world to be as, right? And so I like the overall thought and feeling behind this album, and Ooh La La in particular. I know we praise DJ Premier to death here. Ooh La La I found was interesting, in terms of being a catchy chorus. I can't really say RTJ has a lot of catchy choruses, but this one with the Ooh La La, how simplistic it was, I felt it was very catchy. Did you kind of feel that way as well, Don?
Oh, definitely. It was definitely catchy, and honestly, I didn't know this was a sample in the beginning. I thought it was just one of them screaming. But upon further investigation, yeah, it was purely sampled. I think it was from Gangstar that they actually sampled it from, that piece. But dude, I gotta say, yes, it was one of the catchier ones. One of the more, well, compared to the rest of the stuff, one of the more poppy ones.
Yeah.
But it had one of the best bars on there, in my opinion.
Oh, wow.
Where Killer Mike in verse 4 equates himself to loving Bruce Wayne before. It's like, are the exact bars. Quote, I used to love Bruce, but live in my vida loca. Help me understand I'm probably more of a joker.
Ooh.
When we usher in chaos, just know we did it smiling. Cannibals on this island, inmates running the asylum.
Wow.
Just like, dude, I didn't even, like, I heard that the first time, I was like, ooh, fancy. Like, that was one of the things that got to me when I said it was just like the beats getting to me the first listen. That one stood out to me.
Oh, for sure. That bar definitely rings a bell for me too. I remember just trying to, for me, I like you, I enjoy the album in its entirety with the production and everything, and I don't really focus as closely as I should on the lyrics on the first listen through, but that stood out to me too. The whole Bruce Wayne juxtaposing with the Joker.
Yep.
It was such a perfect imagery, and especially fitting for the overall vision of the album they have. Now, moving forward a little bit, let's jump ship to track number 3.
2 Chainz.
2 Chainz, Out of Sight. Now, knowing my comments from the last album review I did, always I look at the track listing to see who the features are, because it doesn't necessarily tell me if your album's going to be good or bad, but it does tell me who you're working with. What kind of expectation should I have for the features? And I can legitimately say I recognize a lot of these features. I've heard Greg Nice before. I know DJ Premier. 2 Chainz, of course, everybody knows him. He's probably, some would argue, a bigger star, mainstream star than Run the Jewels.
Definitely.
But let me just kind of tell you my overall thoughts on this one. So I thought it was an interesting choice with a saturated and distorted kick. I thought it might have been a bit too much at first, but the way they mixed it, I think it worked. It was kind of an acquired taste for me with that kick especially, but I think it worked. I thought the female vocals in the background complemented the hard drums very well. And overall, how it's kind of a cacophony almost. It's almost like a harsh sounding combination of sounds, really, but it works. It's not that harsh sounding. It really blends together in a good way. And this is what I envision when I make beats like this. When I try to incorporate different sounds and layer upon layer upon layer, I like how everything flows together in this particular track. The samples, the vocals, the beat. I know, Don, you don't like it when there's other things going on in the background, and I'm sorry about that, but this was a prototypical example of a track that really tied it all together. It may not have been my favorite track off the album, but I like the composition aspect of it. Great collection of samples. I thought Killer Mike killed it on the bridge. Later on in the song, he was fantastic. 2 Chainz' verse was good. It kind of sounded like he sent his verse into RTJ.
Yeah, they're like, "Hey, yo, can you make this a little bit more, eloquent?" And they're like, "Yeah, we got you."
Exactly.
It was definitely a little bit of a step up from the normal 2 Chainz, and it's mad respect, because it made me think, what if 2 Chainz really can write the way that he did for this particular track? He just knows that in order to reach the millions that he has, he can't.
Yeah, I mean, in order to reach the millions, he has to say, "All I want for my birthday is a big booty hoe." He has to stick to the message.
You know what? And, it makes me beg the question now, if we step away slightly and take a slight tangent.
Sure.
Would you do the same?
Would I essentially dumb down my lyrics for mainstream success?
Yep.
Honestly, I think I would find a way to do that and also be true to myself, because I feel like it is a skill. We talk about dumbing down lyrics as if it's a negative thing, and can understand. It's not exactly. I mean, at least that's the impression I get when I usually talk about these things, like the whole, the mumble rap, the whole, quick hit, bad and bougie style of rapping. We always try to compare that, or at least I do mentally, to like a Kendrick Lamar or a Pusha T. But then you realize that hip hop is very much a broad church. They have different schools of thought, different styles, different flows. And what works for the mainstream is actually the old acronym KISS, keep it simple, stupid. When you have the simple lyrics on a catchy beat, that's really what sells, and 2 Chainz capitalized on that. Titty Boy, as he once used to be known in some circles in Atlanta, he became 2 Chainz, and he became a 2-word rapper almost. He would, have these punchline raps that were hitting hard, and it takes a certain amount of skill to do that well. And so I respect it. For me personally, yes, I would, kind of water down the verbosity of my lyrics for mainstream success. But at the same time, I think I would have a good amount of self-respect for my own bars, because I would feel like it takes skill to do it. It's not just me making myself sound dumb. No, it's me communicating more efficiently. So that's my 2 cents on it. How about you, though? Would you...
I'd definitely sell out. That's easy.
It's easy.
No question about it. What? 6th grade level? 4th grade level? I'm all about it. Sign me up.
But for some people like Don, it's a little bit easier to do that than others. The transition from 8th grade to 6th grade level bars is
it's astounding. It's astounding for some people.
It's astounding for some. So okay, so it sounded like you liked Out of Sight. It was an okay track.
It was one of the more popular of the track list.
Okay,
but it wasn't a bad one. I don't think there was. I mean, we'll get to it at the end, but I'll make the comment now. I don't think there was a bad track on this album.
I agree. I think for the most part it was consistent.
Yeah.
It was very consistent. So moving on to and I gotta say
this is my favorite, by the way.
Oh, okay, interesting. I gotta say the first time I read this title, I read it as "Holy Camel Fuck." And
see, this is why we dumb it down to the 6th and 4th grade levels here.
I know, for people like me. So, and when I heard the sample, which sounded kind of Middle Eastern to me, I was like, oh yeah, this title makes total sense. Like, I get it. Like, the camel part of it, I get it. But then after reading it again, when my selective semi-dyslexia faded away, I realized, oh, it's Kalamafuck, like calamity or something. And so I thought, just kind of my overall thoughts, LP was really flexing his vocabulary here. Like, he was using some words, man, and combinations of words that I haven't heard in a rap song before.
Pyrotechnocrats, old razzle-dazzlers.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say that bar actually. His bars, to me, to be honest with you, didn't all hit, but I appreciate the effort. Like, I respected that he was going for it.
It was poetry. It was poetry in motion. That's what it was. More so in lyricism and in tone than an actual
delivery. Yeah. Like, this might be the first time, as Don pointed out, ever the words "the old razzle dazzlers" were uttered on a mic. Like, that kind of phrasing is just so out there to me.
Exactly, but that's what makes it so fucking good. Because I have to say, look, just to not take away from your moment here.
Yeah.
But this reminded me a lot of N-Words in Paris. This track.
Okay.
And the whole point of that track, or the big thing and most memorable thing, is when they switch up the tones and they get that sample from
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell,
right? Yeah.
Right? Doing something atypical and making it work. And then, they do that with the whole interlude of them shouting mad. Or someone shouting mad. I don't know what it's from. I should actually look that up. And then they switch up the tones. And then there you get the normal tones you would get from LP.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually listening to it right now as you're playing it too on your end, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Like, I'm so glad you mentioned the Paris song, because whenever I look at a duo for hip hop, I always compare it to the creme de la creme, which in my mind is Jay-Z and Kanye West for Watch the Throne.
Sure.
Every single hip-hop duo, I always compare to them. And for RTJ, I wouldn't say that this album was on par with Watch the Throne, but their chemistry is so undeniable that you can still put it on a tier. Like, it may not be that tier, but it's on a close tier for sure. Like, a great duo of MCs, production, coming together on a relatively short album, 11 tracks only, but they made it work, man.
Well, of course, and it was also released a little bit earlier than they'd like, so I'm sure they probably had some things and scuffs they probably wanted to buff out, but they're like, no, it's good as is. Let's leave our perfectionism on the sideline for this one. And that's probably where the perfection would have came, where we're finding these smaller things that you may be calling out. And I'm just saying, man, who's going to compare to Kanye and Jay-Z's Watch the Throne?
I mean, besides me, I do it all the time, to be honest with you. I mean, people know this about me. I think I always say one of the best hip-hop albums ever was Watch the Throne.
No. And I'm saying, like, who would...
who would dare?
Yeah.
Who would dare challenge that? I think RTJ in their own way, they tried.
Yeah, their own way.
They tried.
They're doing it their own way, and I don't know. I fucking love this track.
It's good. It's definitely good. Let's move on though to the next one, which is Goonies vs. E.T., which is actually one of my choice cuts from this album. I thought it worked really well. Let me kind of get into it here. Like, I thought LP killed the intro. Like, maybe it's my favorite LP verse from this whole album, and that's saying a lot because LP killed it this whole album. Like he was fantastic all throughout. The modulated voice in the chorus, at first it was a little weird, but I found it to be tolerable. Like it worked out for me. The part that I love the most, though, Don, is the drum beat sample. Like there's this New Jack City swing from like the 90s. Yeah, like there was this movie called New Jack City. I think Wesley Snipes might have been in there. I'm not really sure about that. Yeah, but it kind of had this vibe, like a hard, Brooklyn or New York style, drum beat that works so well. And LP's from Brooklyn, right? He has that New York cadence to him. And there's certain segments of this track that certain parts are just so hard. So to me, this may be my favorite off the album, just because of the pure raw aggression, how well that drum beat works. And I don't know, man. I thought LP killed it. I thought he killed it. What'd you think of it?
Listening to it, I don't remember much about it, but I understand where you're coming from. No, I mean, like, I remember listening to it, and it sounds familiar. It wasn't one that I gravitated towards. It was probably because of that.
The modulated voice?
Yeah, like, that one probably turned me off on it.
I feel you. I know.
It's rather one of those you love it or hate it sort of situations. I don't hate it. Just,
I'll tell you this much. If you take away that modulated voice and do, like, another hook, I think this would be a hit. Like, this would be probably the best track on the album.
Could be, man. I mean, honestly, each track thus far can have its own stay in whether or not it's the track of the album. It depends on just what you're into,
Yeah, and kind of like the Costco sampler, you get a little bit of everything on this album in terms of samples, flows, cadences, while all being up-tempo and aggressive. It's kind of an amazing thing. They did so much with this album, and yet it's still high intensity, high ferocity, unrelenting. So let's move on to the next one now, Walking in the Snow. And I gotta say, man, at first when I heard this, I was like, all right, I don't know who that lady is. I think her name now, after doing some research, is Gangsta Boo, and she's worked with RTJ before. But she worked for that chorus, man. Like she was really the ideal candidate for that chorus. I don't think too many other people could have pulled that off. I thought that, this was probably a song recorded very recently based on Killer Mike's verse. Mike went very, very hard on this song for sure. He definitely touched on, George Floyd in this particular track. He probably did on a bunch of other tracks, but I just can't remember the precise lyrics. I thought the lady, the Gangsta Boo, her contribution all over the track was very appropriate. The ending was really funny too. I don't know if you remember the joke they had at the end, but she was basically saying, like, it's unfair because you got one black guy, one white guy, so if you don't like the group, you're automatically racist. I thought that was kind of dope. I thought that was dope. And to be honest, this particular track, Walking in the Snow, was one that grew on me. One of the advantages, as I was telling Don before the podcast, that we had by waiting so long to do the episode is I had a chance to listen to the album a few more times than I usually would. And this one really worked. Like, it's up-tempo, it's it's aggressive, and I liked how they incorporated Gangsta Boo. She was a refreshing voice and really made the chorus catchy for me. Like, I just got done walking in the snow. Like, the cadence of it, the delivery was really, really good.
Yeah, it was definitely a tongue twister, man. I was just doing it in my head right now, and I'm like, I slur enough as is. Fuck.
I know. I feel you. And that leads us to track number 7, which is probably the heavy hitter of the entire album, primarily because you have Pharrell Williams, which probably is the biggest name of this whole album, and Zach De La Rocha. Now, for those that don't know, Zach De La Rocha is the lead singer, the frontman, I believe, from Rage Against the Machine, if I recall correctly. Don, you can quickly fact-check me there if I'm wrong. Rage Against the Machine, they're known to do a lot of, like, anti-establishment, F the system type of songs. And it seemed like a match made in heaven. And this wasn't the first time that the frontman, Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine, collaborated with LP and Killer Mike in previous songs. Like, I look back to RTJ 2, their second album, where they did the song Close Your Eyes and Count to Fuck. That one had, the vocals of Zach De La Rocha as well. And for people that have heard him before, he has a very unique voice. And to me personally, it's a little bit hit or miss because, I mean, I'm probably going to get some heat for saying this, but I find him slightly annoying. I think he has a lot of passion when he raps, but his delivery, his vocal is a little bit on the annoying side for me, but it works. You know, if you've heard his original stuff with Rage Against the Machine, it's good. But nowadays, I don't know. It just sounds a little whiny to me. But that aside, Pharrell, listening to him do the hook, and probably he produced the beat too, or at least helped LP make the beat. I thought it was fantastic. You know, it's catchy in a different kind of way. You know, it is a catchy chorus. Like, look at all the slave masters posing on your dollar, and it makes you think, like, oh, look, there's George Washington, there's Andrew Jackson, you know, former slave owners here, and there's always reminders that, you know, the money that you're holding in your pocket, the type of job you're working, your Instagram account, like all of these things are kind of keeping you captive in a different way. So the overall vision, the analogy that the song was trying to make, I thought that was very astute. You know, from a musical standpoint, the 808s with the unique vocal delivery, very staggered delivery, worked well. You know, and I liked it. I think this was one of my, you know, more appreciated tracks of the album. But what'd you think, man?
No, I think it was classic Pharrell 808s. And it was great. It was catchy, yet it still had meaning behind each bars. Simple chorus, but very impactful. Your annoying guy is singing right now, or rapping, depending on what you say.
Sure.
But I liked it. To know that these guys all collaborated, it's, to me, it showcases the community that RTJ is trying to
foster.
Yeah. And, you know, it doesn't matter what genre you fall into in the music industry, whether it be more on the pop side and Pharrell, more on the alternative or rock side, as in Rage, or in the hip-hop realm that RTJ stands in. I mean, if there's a message, there's a message, and it can be played out on any musical canvas.
For sure. And it is beautiful to see all these musical legends, and they are truly legends. They've been in the game for like decades now. Mm-hmm. You know, Pharrell, RTJ, Zach De La Rocha. It's cool to see them come together at a high level and do something that they all are passionate about. It's fantastic. And of course, they never look back, just like the title of number 8. This one was interesting to me. This kind of grew on me after some time. I thought the techno synth that's kind of coming through the whole track worked well. It got a little repetitive for me at first, but after a while, I think I started to dig it more. The haunting oohs in the background, I thought they complemented the synth and the boom boom pat drum very well. You know, the chorus to me at first left a little to be desired. You know, just Killer Mike saying "Never look back," and a lot of pausing. And there was a quote by, you know, I'm probably wrong about this. You can look this up on Genius, but was that Diddy? Was that a quote by Diddy in the middle of the song? Because whatever that was, I thought it worked well as kind of like a bridge or an interlude to the second half of it. I thought it was dope. And, you know, my overall reaction to it was, you know what? I think this is a good track to work out to. Like, I'd probably add it to my workout mix because it has that kind of tempo and cadence and delivery. And it was dope. And Never Look Back, it's a good mantra. I do remember, you know, some bars from Killer Mike. Don may have the Genius page open, so he may, you know, be able to recite them verbatim. But in summary, like, he talked about kind of his upbringing and how he kind of learned the game from his father. He learned the game from his mother. And there was this one bar in there where, you know, it was like, I think his dad taught him, like, you know, don't, you know, give a girl or something like any money. And then he asked his father, does that count for mama too? And I was like, damn, that's kind of a hard bar. Like, to imagine the world that this child is living in, the rules, the different set of rules that are, you know, part of his environment that he has to adapt to and kind of find a way to thrive in. and his parents are there too, and they have their own, challenges and difficulties in their own lives, but they also have to raise a child and teach the child how to survive in this world. I thought it was pretty cool, and through all that, all the decisions that were made, all the different, misadventures they had, it's true that they don't look back and regret the past, because there's another bar in there where they say, sometimes if you look back, you get bitter. And if you get bitter, you can never get better. I think it went something along those lines. And I thought, wow, that's kind of true, because if you spend all your time dwelling in the past, you're pretty much going to wallow in regret. And you're not going to be able to truly grow and look behind new doors that may be knocking. So, I like this track after a few listens. What about you, man?
The same way. I kind of lost touch with it because, as you said, the beats, I expect a certain kind of heavy hitting beat, and this was a little bit atypical from what I'm used to of RTJ.
Right.
But still, again, bars wise, they have some heavy bars in there that we could dive into forever on it. And it was great.
For sure. Now, the next track, unfortunately, I didn't have a whole lot to say about this one. All I have in my notes are, the snare and the kick drums are mixed really well here. I thought whatever snare that they used, it sounded really nice, like in the context of the rest of the layers. But I frankly, I don't know if this was my top 11. Let's say no. I don't think this is my top 10 favorite track of the album. This might have been my, bottom one right here. This might have been my least favorite. But what do you think? Did you like Ground Below?
Listening to it really quick, it's reminding me. I actually like this after working a shift, driving home to this. I remember this.
Okay.
Don't remember anything about the lyrics.
It's not bad. Like, I'm listening to it right now too. Like, it's not bad. It's not bad.
The chorus is okay. It's one of those, like, I feel like it could be like an intro song to a movie.
Yeah. Like it's kind of, it doesn't seem as complex, for lack of a better word, as other tracks out there. Like, yeah, they did something here. It works. I get it. But am I a fan of the chorus? Not really. And typically, if I don't like the chorus, it's hard for me to gravitate toward the song. And Dawn kind of said the same thing about Never Look Back as well. And maybe this is something that is a bit of a trend for RTJ. Maybe, the bars are always amazing for the most part, but the chorus may not match it. And this could be another reason why they're not as mainstream as somebody like a Drake, as somebody like a Kanye West. Although different lanes entirely. So that was the Ground Below, and we'll leave that underground for now. Next track, Pulling the Pin, featuring Mavis Staples and Josh Homme. Now, if I recall correctly, Josh Homme is probably the frontman for Queens of the Stone Age. Dawn can fact check me on that one if I'm mistaken. And I thought that, I liked Mavis Staples' contribution to the track. You can really feel the pain and passion when she says, there's a grenade in my heart. Like the way that she says grenade in my heart, I thought that was very, very, soulful, very deeply felt. And I think I might have put egg on myself by calling Mavis Staples a she, but let me just verify that real quick. That she's a she. Okay, perfect, good. I was scared that I was totally off and losing my hip hop credibility there. Okay, so I thought I liked elements of this song, but it's not a track that I would go to repeatedly. How about you?
Same thing. I do remember this. This is probably not in my top 10 of these 11 tracks, personally. But because it does seem very almost like evil gospel, like
satanic gospel.
Sure, I just didn't want to say that.
Okay, I got you.
Right, but it's kind of like one of those eerie, dark feeling, sort of.
Oh, you know what? Now that I played back a little bit, it kind of reminds me of something that like Odd Future would do.
Yeah.
Like Tyler the Creator and Earl Sweatshirt and
other
everybody
goods.
there.
Other goods. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. So now that brings us to the final track of the album, which is the longest track by far. It's 6 minutes and 42 seconds.
It's
It's
just a
called
few words. Just a few words.
it is called A Few Words for the Firing Squad, and in parentheses, Radiation. And, I I appreciated this track for being probably the most heartfelt
Yep,
and personal
definitely.
for both LP and Killer Mike. Like the build up is so nice. Like as the beats building and Killer Mike does his thing. Initially, I think LP might do his thing too. With the saxophone breaking up the monotony of the beat, I thought that was really, really good.
Oh, it was a beautiful track. It was a beautiful track. It didn't feel like a 7-minute track. And I think it was RTJ in its purest form. Like, not hiding behind the heavy drums, not hiding behind any antics or catchy bars. It was just them preaching.
That's so true. That's so true. And there was a certain point around the 4 minute mark when the music just all crashes down around you, and it sounded so good to me. It was like cinematic almost. It kind of reminded me of Boys in the Hood. Like there was I think it was the scene after Ricky got murdered. Remember by that little like the red Volvo or whatever, like the drive-by shooting on Ricky, and like everybody was crying, like his mom was crying and Doughboy was there, and was it Ricky? Is that his name? It's either Ricky or the guy who was the football player. He was like the one athlete of the group. I forget the name. It's been quite a few number of years. But in any case, it was very cinematic. I like this track, and I agree with Don. Even though it was like damn near 7 minutes long, and that initially was a turnoff for me because I was looking at the rest of the track list. Oh, 3 minutes, 3.5, that's fine. 7 minutes, golly, this better be good. I'm gonna sit through the whole thing. But it was, and I thought it was great. And near the end, there was like I guess a Yankee and the Brave outro for that fake fictional, show. And they kind of had like a country twang to the hip hop. They did like a little bit of country grammar there by mixing the Yankee and the Brave sample by whoever that voiceover guy was, and they made it into its own thing. I thought, this is kind of like LP, I imagine, who's the producer for most of these tracks, flexing here. This is him showing that he can dibble dabble into a little bit of everything. Pharrell's on the track, sure. 2 Chainz is on the track, but his production to me stood out from track 1 to track 11. Maybe not in the same exact intensity from the start to finish, but he tried enough different things to make me really respect his production ability and consider him to be probably one of my favorite producers out there. So I like this. I think it really worked for the group. And let's get into some like overarching thoughts now, man. So I know we covered it for the most part. We went through everything. I would say that this is probably one of their better efforts in terms of album. Now, I need to go back and listen to the RTJ 1, 2, and 3 to really make that statement definitively. But my one takeaway is this. I don't think I found a new favorite track from RTJ from this album. I'm actually going to go over some of my all-time favorites after you give your 2 cents. But the one thing that was really lacking for me here was one of the problems that the Clippers had back when Chris Paul was on there. Yes, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Lob City was fantastic. It was amazing to watch them every day, but you kind of realize they fall into this cycle of a superior mediocrity. Like, they're always better than the rest, at least most people, but they're never really good enough to win a title. And to me, this album was better than most hip-hop that's out there, but because there was no single track that really, really captured my interest more so than anything else and made me want to play it all the time, I can't say that this was amazing. This was just really consistent. This was good from start to finish. This was the type of music that I enjoy, and I could listen to it again, and I would enjoy it in the car. I would enjoy it at work. I would enjoy working out. But I can't say I found a new favorite RTJ track. So that's my 2 cents. How about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, it really makes me think after diving slightly deep into the waters of RTJ with you right now. Why they aren't as successful as other artists. And yeah, I would say replayability of it seems to be lackluster unless we're in times of need, as we are now. I think they have a very clear message when it comes to why they write bars in certain tracks of theirs, but it has to be very, very sort of situational. There are tracks where they talk about their own lives and try to provide a historical context by which listeners can learn and engage with, seem to be part of the lower end of the enticing portions of their albums. So the message can get lost when it comes to those, which may be why they're not selling out huge stadiums and in top 10 talks. But overall, I think RTJ are a great duo with very, very strong production value and skills. Their bars, I'm sure they can go bar for bar against many, many people. But they're just lacking something that would take them to the next, I guess, superstar level or star level.
Question for you, and
So-
it's interesting that you brought this up. One thing that we haven't really touched on while reviewing our RTJ album, which is kind of embarrassing, is the actual lyrical content, the topics that they go through.
Sure.
Killer Mike, in case people don't know, he is very politically active.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends, and I'm sure yours are as well, were Bernie Sanders supporters, both in 2016 and even in 2020. And, since 2016, Killer Mike and Bernie Sanders have done interviews together. They've done different panels together, and they have like a bit of a friendship, if you will. And hearing Killer Mike discuss his views on, what he believes the government should really be doing, where the money should go, his views on Second Amendments. He's actually a very strong gun rights advocate, believe it or not. And he has like a very
strap up.
The songs are very evident in that regard. Now, the thing is, LP, I don't know if LP is as vocal. In a lot of the joint interviews I've seen by them, LP seems to take a bit of a back seat to Killer Mike, although they're both outspoken. They're both alphas in their own right, but Killer Mike really takes the mantle with the activism and doing things for a good cause. And I saw in one interview recently, because with some additional time I was able to do a deeper dive on RTJ, and he basically said that he was inspired by people that came before him, like his mother and father, I think, were both part of a union. His grandmother would actually take him to vote, like since he was like a little kid, like he would accompany her to the voting booth. And in his mind, like the whole idea of grassroots movements, of being politically active, of voting, was something that was very much ingrained in him. And he realized the importance of getting not only himself to go to the polls, but also to get other people involved too. Because at the end of the day, the people do have the power if they so choose to exercise it. And as you know, Don, with voting, typically older people, elderly, they're more likely to show up at the polls and cast their ballots. And younger people, for a variety of reasons, maybe indifference, maybe just not fully comprehending the magnitude of what these votes mean, they may not show up to the polls. And I think Killer Mike recognizes that, and I think I can appreciate him, campaigning on behalf of Bernie, just try to bring excitement, try to bring, his own 2 cents to it, and to maybe appeal to people who look like him, appeal to people from his neighborhood, from his background, to kind of take voting, take politics more seriously. Because if they want to see change, yes, protesting is a vital component of it, but heading to the polls and actually making your voice heard there on the ballot is equally as important. So I respect that about Killer Mike, and I think in association LP as well. And that may be the reason, and this is what I was getting to before my soliloquy. I think this may be the reason why they don't resonate with as many people. I feel like, as we talked about before, 2 Chainz became more prominent, became more well known when he dropped Titty Boy as his moniker and became 2 Chainz and rapped in a little bit different style. He was already locally famous in Atlanta. People knew of him, and he had a good, reputation over there. But by, I guess, dumbing his style down, for lack of a better word, and appealing to the masses in that way, he was able to achieve heights that he could never do previously. And I think RTJ, the style of music that they do, although from time to time they do have major hits, mainstream hits that are in video games and commercials and whatnot, I think in general their natural style is not conducive to what mainstream hip-hop audiences are looking for right now. And that's really what's holding them back from achieving the heights that their contemporaries or even younger acts are getting. But that's okay. I think that's really okay. For real hip-hop heads like myself, like Don, I think we can appreciate the style and substance that they bring to the table, from the production to the lyrics and to the overall package. And it's always cool to me to see, excuse me, characters that, are really out there come together and do something really, really impressive. Like, you look at Killer Mike, he had a standalone career too. You look at LP, I think he was doing some other things before, but ever since LP produced Killer Mike's album, I forget what it was called. It was maybe like RAP or something like this. Ever since then, they had this chemistry, this undeniable pairing, and they kept going with it, regardless of what mainstream media was doing, regardless of what mainstream hip-hop was doing. They stuck to their guns, for lack of a better expression, and they really did a good job, man. So it doesn't matter to me if they're not super famous. I like them, you like them, and I think if you were to rate this album out of 5 stars, Don, what would you give it?
5 stars.
5 stars, really? Oh, man.
Well, I give out the 5s because it's like, it's meaningful. The way that they released it was bar none. It's a work of art that they haven't even perfected yet. Yet when they did release it and we listened to it, it still was a strong, almost very polished album. Imagine if they had more time to polish it some more.
Wait, but Tom, wait a second. Maybe I'm a little bit unclear about the history of this album, but why do you say that this was kind of released early? Why, is there some
Yeah, they released it based off of all the George Floyd stuff a little bit earlier than they had wanted to.
Oh, really? Okay, so this was very much catalyzed.
They were absolutely. They were well into it, of course.
Okay.
But it wasn't. They didn't. I think they didn't anticipate releasing it when they did. They just knew it was the right time to do it, and it was.
Wow. Well, no, I mean, I'm so happy to hear that, because when artists take the time and period of time that we're in so seriously, and they realize, you know what, there is no better time than today, given what happened, to release the album and share.
Just say, fuck it. People need to hear this. Rather than going out and looting and doing all that, they just need to hear something that would kind of provide a different type of fuel to whatever feelings they're having. And as you were mentioning, Killer Mike is a very active in the political scene of things. What better way to influence those you influence best with your music than doing this?
I agree, 100%. So, I'm a little bit harsher when it comes to my star ratings.
Okay, if I'm going to be honest, 3.5 out of 5.
I'm going to say 4. Because I know in this climate, especially in this era, this style of album is very rare. It's very few and far between, and because of that, the minimum for me is a 4, because I like the artists, I know them. I like the bars, I like most of the production top to bottom. The only reason it's not a 4.5 or 5 is because, like I said, I couldn't find a track that matched one of my favorite tracks from them. And Don, if you have Spotify open, if you could kindly pull up a track called Legend Has It. This is from their third album, the third Run the Jewels album. Go ahead and play that on in the background, because I'll tell the audience right now, this track, Legend Has It, is actually my favorite Run the Jewels track of all time. And the music video is good too. You basically see them all in a police lineup, and they kind of go through like one by one, narrowing down the suspects until it's just the rappers RTJ. And it's just so great, because this was the first track that I heard by them. I think it might have been in a video game. It might have been like in an NBA 2K or something like that. And I was like, damn, like this is good. Like Killer Mike was ultra aggressive, his usual style. LP was rough, raw, rugged, not giving an F, and just doing it. And the beat itself was fantastic. And I thought, wow, man, like RTJ is something to pay attention to. Like, they are good. And this made me go backwards a little bit. And I looked at other tracks. If Don still has Spotify open, he can look up Close Your Eyes from Run the Jewels 2. It's from their second album together. And this one had Zach De La Rocha on there too. And I really like the intro for Close Your Eyes, because it's like, run the jewels fast, run the jewels fast. Like the whole sample that they did of Zach De La Rocha's voice, it worked really, really well. And I appreciate beats like that. And then you got more like Blockbuster Night Part 1.
And that was my first track that I heard from them before.
Blockbuster Night?
Yeah. And what I heard it from was the end of a Silicon Valley show. It was one of the outro.
Wow. Okay.
And that's when I started listening to him. Because this is what I base my analysis of RTJ to be. Like that harsh, in your face, unrelenting, raw style. It brings back memories now that I'm like listening to it. It gave me that feeling, which is very similar to how Killer Mike ended the album for RTJ4.
Yeah.
It gave you, if I quote it really quick, I'm bringing it up.
Sure.
Go hard, last words to the firing squad was fuck you too.
Ooh.
And that's one of those, just like, that's what I equate Run the Jewels to. Like, I'm gonna get my point across. I don't give a shit what you do. Fuck you.
I like that. I mean, you know me, man. I think, one of my favorite niches or subgenres of hip hop is like that aggressive, real passionate music. And Run the Jewels definitely ticks that box. I love the way they closed out the album, RTJ4. It was great going down memory lane, going all the way back to 2014 with Run the Jewels 2 and Blockbuster Night Part 1. And another shout out that I have from this artist, this group of artists, is Mean Demeanor. I thought Mean Demeanor was a great track as well. I don't know. I don't think it's from a specific album. It might just be like a single or an EP they did. But those are my tops, man. Legend Has It, Close Your Eyes, and Count to Fuck, Blockbuster Night Part 1, and Mean Demeanor. Those are fantastic. Yeah. I appreciated, as well as Don did, RTJ4. This was a great album to review. Probably one of the best albums I heard this year. Right up there with Jay Electronica's A Written Testimony. By the way, have you heard that album, Don?
I haven't.
Oh man, there's a little bit of a big surprise actually, because I first thought this was a solo album, like it's all Jay Electronica, but when you actually listen to it, it'll blow your mind who's the guest feature on every single track. It'll just blow your fucking mind. I was listening to it with a friend not too long ago, and I was like, oh my god, are you serious? Like, he's on every track? Are you kidding me? Like, it felt to me like Watch the Throne Part 2. And I know I'm hyping it up like too much, but I think you kind of got the idea of who I'm referring to when I say guest feature now. But in any case,
it's got to be Taylor Swift, isn't it?
It is Taylor Swift. She's coming through. She had to get back at Kanye. She had to get back at Scooter Braun. You know how she does. She's a diss track queen. She'll kind of throw some nuanced bars in there, some unforeseen content. Mixing in the Snapchat video and the audio along with it. But in any case, this was a great album to review. Any closing thoughts on this album before we transition?
I'm wondering, man, this was a great enough episode. Why don't we just end it there?
Yeah, given the time, I think that's not a bad
No,
idea.
no. We can still talk after this. I just don't want to. I say we stick on that one topic. I think it was a great topic that we had.
I think so. I think so. I think I guess to kind of add a little bit more filler and sticking on
Filler. Don't call it filler.
My bad. Add some substance, some really meaty.
There we go.
Foie gras on there.
Foie gras, foie gras.
You are the chef between us, so I'll defer to you with the pronunciations from French cooking. So tell me this, man. What other hip hop duo stands out to you, either old school or new school?
Sure.
That can kind of match the heights of Run the Jewels, not necessarily the style caliber, but the heights of them. Like
easy, man.
Okay.
Easy. Lonely Island.
Ooh, yo! I used to listen to their stuff, man. I watch videos. Andy Samberg and his boys. I remember them, man.
Because it was pure entertainment. That's what they were about. They were true to their craft. They weren't trying to be something that they weren't. If they were, it was in pure comedic value, which was very crystal clear.
Sure.
So I would say up there. And all seriousness, like they're up there in regards to entertainment value.
I agree.
Duos.
I got one if you need some time to think about it. So,
Sure.
One of my, I wouldn't call them one of my favorite duos, but one duo that I really, really appreciated over the, let's say, 90s and 2000s.
There it is. I think I know. I Googled. Are they from Atlanta?
Oh gosh, are they? Well, I'll tell you who they are, and you can tell me. Mos Def and Talib Kweli.
Oh, Black Star, huh?
Chicago, yeah. Yeah, Black Star. Black Star was really impressive to me because, from a lyrical standpoint, there's not a whole lot of rappers out there that are better than Talib Kweli, lyrically speaking.
Okay.
I think Jay-Z
and very politically fueled.
Yeah.
No, but I was saying it was going to be Outkast. That's what I was saying.
Oh! You know what? Yeah, how could I forget? From Atlanta, from the A, Outkast, Big Boy, and Andre 3000.
Sure.
And this may be blasphemous, but to me, I never really liked Outkast that much. I liked him. I liked some of their hits. All the stuff on the radio, Hey Ya, I remember that one. It got a little annoying after a while, but Bombs Over Baghdad and everything. It was great. Don't get me wrong. But I never fell in love with Outkast like so many of my friends did. And I kind of wonder, for you specifically, were you one of those that really, really liked Outkast?
No. I mean, I wasn't like a diehard fan or anything. They were good.
Okay.
They were good. Another one, I looked it up. 10 greatest hip-hop duos on Medium.
Okay.
They're saying Dre and Snoop.
See, I don't know about that, man.
That doesn't really count.
Yeah.
UGK?
GK, Bun B and Pimp C.
Yeah. They're up there. 8 Ball and MJG.
Oh, are you on the Medium article, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, so number 10 is Run the Jewels. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did. I scrolled right down. Yeah. That's
wow.
That's from that music video that you were talking about.
I know. Run the Jewels. There you go. Legend has it. Gangstar.
Of course.
You talked about them. DJ Premier and Guru. I mean, they're fantastic. Sometimes when I listen to Guru and I listen to him rap, I think I can come close to that. Like his vocal delivery. I think I can come close to that. He has a very smooth voice, by the way. Really smooth voice.
Sure.
Method Man and Redman. Yeah, that's definitely up there. I liked Method Man a lot. I mean, ever since his Wu-Tang days, I always liked his style. Redman, I know a lot of people from New Jersey love Redman. They call him a legend, like a top 10. For me personally, I think he had his moment. I don't know if his longevity was really that great. But sure, Mobb Deep. Sure, yeah, Prodigy and Havoc, R.I.P. Prodigy. I thought they were great. Like Shook One's Part 2, I don't agree that it's the best hip-hop song ever made, but it is a classic, absolutely fantastic. Oh, there you go. Number 6, man. Number 6 should have been number 1. Come on, Jay-Z and Kanye.
Give it time. They haven't aged yet. They got to age into it.
Dude, honestly, they're never gonna age. They're never gonna age.
Well, with the amount of money they get, yeah, I know.
Oh, yo, number 5. That's my boy.
I know you were gonna say it. That's why I didn't even. I just scrolled right past. I'm like, all right, he'll talk about this.
Pusha T and No Malice. I haven't heard Kanye's last album, Jesus is King.
Sure.
But I heard that they reunite. Pusha T and Malice, they come back together for one of the tracks. I think no curses, of course, and No Malice is basically clean now. He doesn't rap about drugs or anything like that. He's like a reverend or something. But I thought that was cool. I thought that it was cool that Kanye got them back together at least for one night. 8 Ball and MJG, I remember I think some of their songs from back in the day, but I wasn't a huge fan of them. UGK, same thing, wasn't a huge fan. Dre and Snoop, yeah, whatever. So overall, honorable mention A, Lil Wayne and Jules Santana. No, I do not like them. Gotta say. But it's interesting to me. Like, I look at all these artists, and very few of them have been together for a long time, right?
Sure.
Like, a lot of these are just
they're one-offs just to make the revitalize careers and bring a breath of fresh air.
Right. And so I have a lot of respect for the duos that really stand the test of time, like Dapper Dan. And I hope that the SoCal DNA featuring the D and the A stand the test of time as well. I mean, we've been a little bit slow on the musical front.
So. Oh, dude, here's a good one. Neptunes.
Neptunes. So you're talking about Chad and Pharrell?
Yeah. Yin Yang Twins. How about them?
But see, okay, I guess we have to kind of preface what we mean by duo, because I think for me, when I say duo,
two actual rappers or two actual artists, not producer and artist.
Well, I guess I would prefer not necessarily that, but I would prefer both of them to have legitimate value independently, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like, you look at Outkast. Big Boy had a nice solo career, as did Andre 3000. Jay-Z and Kanye, of course. LP and Killer Mike is interesting because I don't think anybody heard of LP really before Run the Jewels. Gangstar, I think DJ Premier went on to have a great successful career as a DJ producer for other artists as well. Same for Method Man and Redman. They're both elite in their own rights. Mobb Deep, I don't know if they did. I think Prodigy might have, but Havoc, not so much. So I guess for me, it's a little bit muddled. Some of these cases, I know they're always kind of an item. They're always put together in the context of hip-hop. Other cases, they did branch out and have their own independent careers that were rather successful. But long story short, man, I like to see these duos. You forgot to mention some modern duos like Ray Sremmer, right?
Sure.
They do the Black Beatles and other tracks.
Macklemore and Ryan Lewis.
Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, that's right. The ceiling can't hold them. They certainly couldn't hold them. And I'm sure we're forgetting some, man. You can even say
Fresh
Billie
Prince
Eilish.
and Jazzy J.
Jazzy J, he did the production for his earlier albums, right? I think you're right. You're right. That was a fun duo, and also they had a lot of TV time together too, so that always helps. But yeah, this was great. I think it was a great episode to basically focus on one of the best, as Medium puts it, top 10 greatest hip hop duos of all time. And shout out to Killer Mike, shout out to LP. We look forward to more of your efforts. We look forward to RTJ5 whenever that comes up. Maybe there's going to be like a special EP with all the unreleased tracks from this current effort.
I hope so, man. I love their music.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll revisit this when, or hopefully we never have to, but I'm pretty sure we will when things get rough again in our current state. But it was a great album. Great album.
I think so. And for the fans out there who are wondering, they did an episode on Monday night. When's going to be the next episode? When's episode 11 coming out? Well, unfortunately, we will not be able to record on Wednesday, as usual. But fear not, I think we will try to reschedule to a later time. And, we can't say when. we can't.
And that's on me, guys. I've been working, building my brand. So I think over time, once things settle down and we each reach our millions, of course, A before me, It'll be a lot easier to have control of our schedules.
For sure. And of course, the fans, the millions of fans out there, and the 5 subscribers, we're all very proud. We're all very proud of how far Bunso has come.
Yeah.
And Lokels Only, quick shout out. They're doing well, right? You guys have been
man.
working every week. Yeah.
We're actually doing a new thing. Let me actually load that up.
For sure.
That beer is settling really nicely.
Loading up in more ways than one, I see.
Ooh. All right, here we go. Partner. .order spot .app/mobile. This is not easy.
It's tough.
There we go. Boom. That is our current website. We got some technology finally, where you could find our menu coming up. If I have that going on right now, we're doing Taco Tuesday tomorrow, where I'm doing 3 taco plates. And it's actually pretty freaking legit. More and more, look at it. Oh.
You like your own stuff, huh?
Dude, I'm liking it, man. I'm liking it. But anyways, yeah, we've been working hard. I'm doing Filipino tacos, trying to do something new, being unrelenting in my own fashion, not giving a fuck about the standards that have been set, and still trying to pave new grounds for those that come after me. So, we will see.
For sure. And we will end on that note, a very positive note for Bunso, and always a pleasure hearing about what have they been up to. And also, I just got to say, I know a lot of protests are still going on right now. There's a lot of disappointing new murders that have happened as well in the past week. We're not going to get into all that, but all I say to you guys, all of our fans, is be safe out there, always have the interest of your loved ones in mind. Do what's best for them. And you guys take care. We will try to entertain you the next opportunity we get. And until then, catch you guys on the flippity flip.
Peace.